So today, everyone, we have the panel on climate careers. This is our final panel. So we have Chris Gomez here, who works at the intersection of unions, labor organizing, and climate for the Texas Climate Jobs Project. We have Dr. Joan Miners. I think that's how you said her last name was, but she has a PhD in ecology, and she's a climate journalist for the Arizona Republic. And we have Geeta Menon, is that right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And she's a founder of the One Earth, One Chance environmental nonprofit, and she advises sustainability initiatives at UTD's Jindal School of Management. And then lastly, we have Erin. I'm so sorry. Is that Bordelon or how do
Bordelon.
you say Bordelon? Okay.
Bordelon, yep.
Okay, I suck at names. And she is the National Sustainability Director for the publicly traded building company, DR Horton. So I guess most of my questions are pretty like general for everyone to answer because I think myself and like other kids my age are kind of just wondering, like, for instance, can you like tell us about your career path, like how you became interested in climate change and sustainability, kind of like how you got to do what you're doing now?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Go ahead, Erin.
So just in general, whenever I graduated from SMU, my degree is not at all in sustainability. It's in corporate communications, public affairs, and psychology. I traveled for a while and as a kid or just after school as a gap year and really um, wanted to make sure that I was doing the right thing by going back to 7 years of school to get my PhD in psychology. It's then when I realized I really love being outdoors. I love, the way uh, different cultures really value our environment and think of the resources of the earth as precious and to be something to be cherished. I looked back and decided, like, okay, well, how am I going to do something in this world to make the planet better, to make our world a better place, to preserve our environment. Um, and looking back in childhood, I literally I built a solar power Barbie doll house for like fifth grade or fourth grade science fair project. And just started realizing that I really love the built environment. So I got back into the States and just started applying for jobs. It was not real easy. This was in 2006, right before the Great Recession, the big housing bubble burst. But I ended up, after interviewing at the same large architecture and urban planning firm 6 times, they finally gave me a job as an admin. And so I started ground up at an architecture firm as an admin, then moved into marketing and started learning about like the lingo and building terminology, architecture terminology, got my lead AP, and then decided I actually wanted to practice what I was talking about and what I was writing about and preaching. And I went to a consulting company that is an energy rating company, an energy consultant in new construction, residential, and multifamily, single family, multifamily. Um, and that's where I really found my calling. I love energy rating. HERS ratings are kind of like the mile per gallon of homes, of how energy efficient a home is. So being in the field and just really enjoying the industry of construction. There's not a lot of pretense around it. If you know what you're doing, if you are trustworthy, it's a lot about relationships and also being very concise and not really technical, if you can, whenever you're talking to builders. And so then I decided I wanted to go on to the decision-making side. And I started looking for real estate firms that I could go and kind of integrate into. And that is how I ended up at DR Horton. It was the first kind of making up the job as I go along. It's a wonderful, wonderful company, but it's really about delivering houses and really maintaining affordability and quality at a very large scale, and building about 90,000 homes a year. So we're a big company that's nationwide, but it is still humbling every day to think that, like, I get to help be part of these conversations, and make the business case for sustainability in home building. So, Geeta.
That's great. Yeah. I think that goes to show that like life can take you on a lot of different paths, and it's like so I remember when I was younger, I had this impression that in order to work with like climate and all that and sustainability, I had to do something sciencey, like had to major in something like that. So I guess that goes to show you can really do almost any sort of job in this field.
Yeah.
And I think was it Geeta you wanted to say something earlier?
Yes, yes. I'm going to first apologize if there's any problems with the connection here because I'm in Mount Magazine, Arkansas, taking this conference. So if there's any connection issues, apologies in advance. So I think I'm going to start at the end actually, which is the most recent developments in my career path. I took early retirement from SAP after 25 plus years with them and moved to focus on a nonprofit that I'd founded 5 years ago called One Earth, One Chance that you mentioned in the intro, as well as a faculty position at UT Dallas teaching sustainability and AI, the intersection of those two topics. So it's a good juncture for me to reflect on where I came from. So, the years in corporate were mainly focused on applying technology to problems, right? So I started my career at Accenture as a consultant and, focused on sales automation. How do you make sales processes work more effectively? And then from there on, I moved to Dell and focused on the other side, which is the supply side. So I focused on supply chain and, how to make procurement work better. And then those two kind of combined into my next career at SAP, where I drove e-commerce technology. So bringing the whole value chain together from customer to supplier. So it kind of makes sense when I look back. The focus was really on a lot of application of technology. So, but at the end of the day, you're working with people, right? And you're working with processes. So you kind of have to consider that part of it. But what drove me through the career path was a focus on optimizing, right? It was all about, how do you optimize this? But about I would say maybe it was around the time of Al Gore's movie, The Inconvenient Truth. It sparked some thoughts in my head, and I was sort of like, I need to do something. I'm very concerned as as a resident of this planet, on what's happening around me, just degradation on multiple fronts and a great culture of convenience that doesn't seem to get any slower, right? So I was concerned I could just sit there sort of curse in the darkness, but I said, let me just go do something, light a candle, do something. And that's what sparked me, the thoughts in forming the nonprofit. I invited a group of friends to my house, of course, brainstormed over chai and, they were like-minded people with a sense of idealism. And, we said, let's focus on three things, green, clean, education, sustain. So we went off and kicked off, these initiatives. So that's what brought me, to that path. But I also believed, philosophically, I believe that there's a time to learn, a time to earn, and a time to return. So I'd kind of done like all the preparation met the motivation, the new motivation, and that's how this happened.
And that's really cool. Chris, I was wondering if you wanted to say anything to this or
Yeah, sure. First, awesome panel. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for everyone who's attending. Really, really awesome opportunity to be a part of this. Yeah, so Chris with the Texas Climate Jobs Project. Whenever I hear this question, One, I want to like let folks know, especially young people, which I try to also consider myself a young person. I just turned 25, so if you ask anybody in their early 20s, then I'm one of the old guys. But for y'all, hopefully, I'm still one of the kids. But anyone can get into this industry, this field. I myself, I grew up in public housing in the city of Fort Worth. I attended public schools. I was on the free and reduced lunch program. Shout out to like all of our social safety nets that help feed our children um, throughout the United States. Um, I had never really considered what a world in what a life in the nonprofit world would actually look like for me. Um, I was, meant to um, drop out of high school and like get a job at a local grocer and just kind of like live doing that my whole life. I would always say that uh, climate change and the nonprofit industry isn't something that I really picked. It's something that picked me. I saw what climate change and environmental injustice was doing to folks like myself, to my neighbors. There was never this like conceptual other that I was like out to fight for. It was really like my mother, who was an immigrant from Mexico. It was for the single mother that lived next to me that was trying to raise 3 kids on her own while like working as a nurse at night and still trying to make time to take her kids to school and still be an active part of their lives. Um, I had done a lot of volunteer work when I was in high school and throughout university. Um, I have friends and family that live in Houston, Texas, and Puerto Rico. And so when Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Maria hit those areas, it was very personal for me. So myself and a couple of my friends got together to like get donations in high school. I was just taking like AP environmental science. So if you're an APE student, like it's such a cool class. I hope that you love it. But we were just learning about what these kinds of catastrophes look like, and then we experienced them. Um, I myself had housed a lot of folks that were coming up from Houston, and they ended up moving to the DFW area and started going to school in neighboring school districts. Um, and me and my friends were just we had just got her like driver's license or learner's permits, and so we were driving supplies from the DFW to Houston, um, like every other day. Baby formula, children's clothing. We were like opening up our trunk right next to the Red Cross tent, and just handing stuff out to folks. And so I had never thought of like, what degree do I need to do this kind of work? What kind of credentials or certifications do I need? You just have to care. You have to have a deep passion for like wanting to help the people that are next to you. Um, and it was that kind of love for my neighbor and for my community that led me down to this path of working in the nonprofit space. Um, we are also a unionized workplace. I'm a big advocate for labor unions. I'm a Teamster out of Local 988 for Houston, 8,000 strong for that local. Um, it's been an incredible privilege for me to do the kind of work that I do. So if you are even remotely considering getting into the industry, you are needed. We need more people that care, that just want to do the work. I don't only do this professionally. I volunteer a whole bunch of my time outside of this. Um, so I'm so glad to be here and really excited to hear what everyone else has to say throughout the rest of the panel.
Just muted for a second. Kind of going off of what everyone has said, like it's incredible how much like you guys have put effort into just like you said, caring. But it's what exactly does your daily life look now? Like what does your organization do? Like what really is your industry all about that each of y'all work for?
I can start. So I think my prior industry, I would say right now I'm focused on nonprofit and academia, so don't think that would be considered industry. But my prior industry was software management information systems, to be precise. So it was really, the collection, processing of data, storage, dissemination of data, to make decisions, right? Then that's what the industry is about. So you apply different technologies. You have to have security and privacy considerations. You're really looking at things like data models and talking to people to understand their requirements. You're looking at processes and looking to improve them. You want to make sure that when you implement the system, it meets the requirements. So you have to test and make sure that it has the quality that it needs to have. You want to make sure people are trained on the system, that they adopt the system. Like, what's the point of spending, millions of dollars in some cases if the system is not used as it should be? So it is, as they call it, the software development lifecycle was the focus of most of my day-to-day. And all the accompanying things like utilizing, AI or cybersecurity or blockchain, whatever technology is the most effective at solving the problem. So, it was much around applications of technology.
I'm happy to talk a little bit about my daily life and daily work. As I mentioned, so, I'll just go ahead and give my disclaimer. So what I am saying and kind of the views I'm expressing here today are those of mine. They're my personal opinions. They're not those of DR Horton. The company is we're actually based in DFW area, started in Fort Worth. We are now located in Arlington, Texas. I travel quite a bit for work. We have operations in 136 different markets across 30 or 126 markets across 36 states. We build approximately like 1 in every 7 new single family homes in this country are built by DR Horton. We're, again, very, very focused on affordability and making sure like our teachers and our firefighters and everyone has the ability to own a home if they so desire. So, housing is it's part of the American dream. It builds generational wealth. With sustainability in this space, there are a couple home builders who have integrated sustainability into their core messaging, to kind of a core part of who and what they do and how they operate. DR Horton has really, again, focused on affordability. And so for me, coming into this, and actually had a wonderful mentor, like my CEO of the company that I worked for 10 years, told me, he's like, you can either find a client who kind of builds one very, very, very green, very innovative project or building a year, or maybe every couple of years, and try to focus on that. Or you can focus your efforts on incremental change at a large scale. And that was something that I really took to heart. And, the everyday transforming and continuing to push with building codes, with green building programs, above code programs, incentives, all of that, it has to pencil out. And so I say this because I think it's really important, the message, and to understand, like, my tagline is, if it's not affordable, it's not sustainable. And the reason I say that is because really, like, there's sometimes a green premium that can be a perceived or actual in building and construction, a green premium, and really understanding how to speak about about this space, about, you know, conservation, about energy efficiency, reduced environmental impact in terms that the business world understands, in business terms, has really been something that I've strived to learn and to integrate into my day-to-day, because it really is, it's business, right? It's a better bottom line. It's better for the people and for the planet and for profits. So, you know, that is something that I would just encourage you to understand, who kind of the importance of messaging and the importance of understanding the business case. My day-to-day, I work with all of our different divisions. We don't have mandates that come down from the top. We really let our builders in all of our different markets build what works in their market. Home building is a local business. Trades are local, and it's incredibly important to understand what you're working with and what the capacity as well as the constraints are in each market. What works in one market, and Minneapolis, Minnesota is not going to work in Louisiana. It's not the same in Arizona as what we're building in Dallas, Texas, and in Houston. The climate is different, climate zones, humidity, there's different building codes, but really understanding and helping them figure out how to improve the performance of the homes without adding cost is incredibly important, and is part of my day-to-day, as well as working on policy and larger, you know, green building issues, but also energy code compliance and understanding that, and being I sit on one of the committees for the ICC's, the Energy Code 2027 development committee, which has been very interesting. So I encourage you guys to really also volunteer in the space. That's how I actually ended up getting the job that I was in for 10 years, that I loved, being an energy rater. I volunteered at the USGBC. I started meeting people. I became an education and events chair, and really started to build my network and understand who the companies were, what the drivers were. Again, trying to link the business case to what personally is very important and I'm very, very passionate about as an individual. So.
Yeah, our nonprofit, Texas Climate Jobs Project, is focused on advancing a pro-worker, pro-climate agenda in the state of Texas. I've done a lot of previous national work and international work, but doing the cool stuff here in Texas is really what I enjoy doing. And the arm of that nonprofit that I work in particular is workforce development. So our goal is to provide a free 3-week training program that brings in community members who are interested in getting into the union building and construction trades. So we partner with a ton of labor unions, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, the United Association of Plumbers and Pipe Fitters, the elevator constructors, any person who is involved with building out our infrastructure, we work with in the DFW, in Austin, and in Houston. So what that actually looks like is when those cohorts are running from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. If it's in the DFW, I'm in class with them throughout those 3 weeks, making myself available to answer any questions that folks may have. Getting into the trades is not an easy thing to do. A lot of it is about connection. And so we wanted to make sure that we provided an opportunity for folks who have no connections with the industry, but want to break into it. We have them come out, we do a lot of training for them, and it covers a lot of math. It covers a lot of history of what labor looks like in the United States. We have a green construction component that is also a requirement for our course. It's another certification that they receive. We do first aid and OSHA 10 training for them. We have all the trades come out and do presentations about what does it mean to be a plumber or a pipe fitter or an electrical worker in the state of Texas. And really giving folks the opportunity to reach that middle class lifestyle. It is an incredible industry, especially whenever it's union building and construction trades. You are seeing folks that are able to make six-figure salaries. They have healthcare that covers themselves, a spouse, and any children that they may have. They have typically 1 to 2 retirement accounts that can be a 401k or a pension. They are partnering with credit unions. They are learning financial literacy. These are the folks that are going to be responsible for building out an incredible renewable energy sector in the state. And we make sure that folks are prepared to do that kind of work. So we help bridge that gap with those community members, especially those. If you're from the Houston area, then we partner a lot with residents in the Fifth Ward. Here in the DFW, we reach out to folks in the southern sector of Dallas. Those are your Bonton Farms, Fair Park area. In Fort Worth, we're hitting Stop 6, Echo Park. We have done our trainings at the different trade union training centers. In Arlington, we've partnered with the IBEW. We've done our training there with the iron workers as well. Both of those are in the Arlington area.
Sorry, Chris, I'm just gonna stop you there, just to ask a quick follow-up question, and also because we're a little bit pressed for time. But Texas is a right to work state. What exactly is a union? Do you think you could explain what a union is and what labor organizing is to the kids here? And then also, how are established unions in Texas approaching climate action, if at all? Like, I think there's a lot of conversation about a just transition and like a Green New Deal and jobs,
Yeah.
Manufacturing solar panels and putting the grids together, and same thing with wind and stuff. But are those jobs like actually good paying jobs? Are they replacing as many jobs as, are being stripped away from the oil and gas industry and coal?
Yeah, great question. So what is a union? A union is any time a group of workers at a particular job site are like coming together and advocating for better working conditions. That can look like a ton of things, better pay, rest breaks, especially if you're out doing construction work. Water breaks are incredibly necessary as well. And benefits, including healthcare, that's medical, vision, dental. Anytime folks are coming together and making a joint ask to their employer, you are doing union work. And labor has an incredible history in the United States. And we've seen recently have become incredibly popular with the American people over the last 10 years.
Can you talk about Texas specifically? Because, I was at the Dallas Morning News when they were, a couple of years later, they attempted to unionize. And it was, I think, a bit of a different situation in Texas where a lot of people, they might not know anyone from a union who was part of a union, whereas in Boston, that might not be the case.
Yeah. So labor union membership in the state of Texas is in the single digits. So you are not likely to actually run into a ton of union members. Beaumont, the city of Beaumont, has the highest union rate here in the state. It is a big labor town, but they're at approximately 20%. And we need higher union density. They have done incredible work throughout the state, especially with the building and construction trades. Zane, could you ask that second part of your question one more time?
I can't remember what I said, but I think, there's also tension. So unions can be one vehicle to secure good paying jobs with good benefits, especially in these kinds of new areas of jobs with, whether it's like you're a data scientist managing grid load, or you're helping manufacture solar panels, or you're helping put the grids together, whatever, like the green transition, the green jobs economy, it's adding a lot of kind of diverse roles. But there's also very established unions, labor unions like the AFL-CIO, other places that might have some tensions with climate and like sustainability work. It kind of, climate change is a disruptor. It threatens the way that we do a lot of things right now, and we need to change our systems essentially. So how I'm curious, how unions can be a vehicle for a more fair, more just transition, but then also how unions are responding to climate change and climate action.
Yeah. First and foremost, unions are meant to protect the workers that they currently represent at whatever job sites that may be. Oil and gas has a long history in the state of Texas, and therefore labor also has a long history with having unionized workers in oil and gas. Their goal is to make sure that those workers are going to have some kind of worker protection, are getting paid a fair wage, and have benefits that are going to be sustainable for themselves and their family. It is not in their interest to want to shut down a coal-fired plant or an oil gas pipeline. But they need the people to be advocating for renewable energy industries, because as it stands right now, we cannot replace all of the oil and gas jobs that are in the state of Texas solely with renewable energy work. Um, Texas Climate Jobs Project, in partnership with Cornell University, did a study to figure out what these solar and wind turbine jobs actually currently look like in the United States. Um, According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, only about less than 1% of solar panel workers reported a heat-related injury or illness while on the job site. That is not what we found. When we went and surveyed these more than 1,200 workers, about 10% of the labor force in the state of Texas, it was nearly half had experienced some kind of heat-related injury and illness. And that can be from a ton of different things, including what's colloquially known as the Death Star bill in Texas, where municipalities cannot require rest breaks for construction workers within the state. Um, for solar workers, if I remember correctly, the median pay that we found was $19 an hour, and for wind turbine workers, it was $25 an hour. And those typically don't include benefits for those folks. So yes, we see a really great push for solar panel installation on these solar farms and wind turbine workers within the state, particularly onshore. We don't have any offshore here in the state of Texas, and there's currently legislation that's passing through the legislature to try to ban it completely, or effectively ban offshore wind here in the state. But as it stands now, we're seeing a lot of injury happening with these workers. And one, people don't know about it. They see solar farms, they hear about solar panels going up on commercial residential buildings, and they're like, oh, this is great. We'd love to see that. Um, but the workers are being left behind. And if you are a unionized worker in a oil and gas facility, um, your option as it stands now is to transition to a solar farm worker where you're seeing a cut in pay, you're seeing a cut in benefits, and a higher likelihood for injury or illness while working on the job site. And that is not a sustainable way. It's not, in my opinion, the just or way to support these workers that we run into all the time. I've had many, and they do exist, solar workers who come out of oil and gas because from the conversations that I've had face to face with these folks, they want to be part of an industry that is supporting the planet. They want to be part of an industry that helps the future be sustainable for their children. I have driven all across the state of Texas to have these conversations with folks. And we're seeing folks from Indiana, from Florida, from Georgia, from California, Oregon, Washington, who say, I can't look my child in the eye anymore working in these industries, knowing that it's contributing to the detriment of their future. Um, but as it stands now, um, the solar farm and wind turbine sector of the renewable energy industry is not the best place for them to transition to. So we need folks to be aware that these are issues, and so that they can advocate for better working conditions so that trade unions can start transitioning oil and gas members to renewable energy sectors.
I have so many more questions I'd like to ask you. But I think, Katerine, do you want to maybe ask a question about skills, personality traits?
Yeah, sure, I can do that.
I have one question in the chat box.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Do we want to address the question in the chat box now, or I
Sure.
don't know when?
I think it's specifically for Geeta.
Okay. Yeah, so it looks like Ashika says, what type of things did you teach when teaching AI and sustainability? I want to major in, what is this? Management information systems, and take that class in the future.
What types of skills are needed? Is that, sorry, you broke up a little bit just because of my connection. Could you repeat that one more time, please?
Yeah, I think they said what type of things did you teach when teaching AI and sustainability?
Yeah.
So I guess skills and all that.
Yes. Okay. So the course is going to kick off in the fall at UT Dallas Jindal School of Management, and it is a undergrad course which will be offered, for starting in fall. It's 3 credits, and what I'm going to be teaching is just the basics of AI. So it's not a course on AI, and it's not a course on sustainability. It's the intersection of both. So it's going to give the basics of what AI is and how it's applied towards, solving problems with sustainable agriculture, with water conservation, with energy, with the future of work, right? What does that mean? And so it's looking at, how can AI can have its own problems. We know that, and we're not going to shy away from discussing what those problems are, because there are considerable water requirements and cooling requirements that AI has as well, but there's also benefits. So we want to give a very accurate picture of both, and look at things like regulations, accreditation, all around the topic of responsible AI use, and what they call green AI, right? How can you make AI more green, but also what are the benefits? How can you utilize AI? Even food waste, AI has numerous benefits, and people want to know about that. So it's the first time that UT Dallas has invested in such a course. So I'm really excited about it. I welcome everybody to join.
Thank you so much for that. And I'm not sure, Zaina, do you know what time we might have to wrap this up?
We only have a couple minutes left.
Okay.
Maybe we can ask a quick question, and I can ask it quickly. But the climate jobs landscape is in flux. It's a newer industry. It's been disrupted several times, as I know personally. And in many cases, it's growing. And you guys all have like very different career paths. So I'm curious to learn more about what skills are most important, do you think, for today's generation? And there's a lot of changes, whether it's AI or changes in government systems. But what kind of skills are most important in navigating this career in climate and sustainability? And for your work personally, what kind of personality traits are best suited? So if there's a high schooler here who's trying to figure out, I'm really passionate about climate, I don't know if I want to go into business or like union organizing and jobs and labor, or data and AI or nonprofits, like what kind of path, what advice would you give these kids?
I can take that one, just because in fall, I actually conducted a panel specifically on the topic of green careers, and to summarize the discussion, what came out was there are really like two areas for sustainability. You're either in the business of sustainability, so you might be, in renewable energy, you might be, doing some sort of innovation around, different topics, whether it's regenerative agriculture or solar or whatever. You might be in the business of that. So there's definitely jobs in that sphere, but also sustainability can be part of every job, right? So every industry needs sustainability. So it's not like you need a specific skill set. Any skill set can be applied towards sustainability. And so you could be, if you're a finance person, there's carbon accounting. If you're a legal person, there's environmental advocacy, or different topics, regulations and standards, policy groups, and so on. So depending on what your interest is, you can look at how to, like I'm in technology, so naturally I'm focused on we had Zaina's got the entrepreneurship competition tomorrow, a great way for technology to be applied towards sustainability. So you look at it from your perspective, your lens, and move forward. That's my advice, and that was a summary of the discussion.
I would agree. Like, just like Geeta said, anything can be any area you're interested in. Sustainability can be part of your job. And sometimes it's about transforming from the inside out, and really making the business case, or taking the business's metrics, whether you're in hospitality, or you're in construction, or in technology. What are the business metrics that show performance and show you're on track? And then how do you take that and kind of like link those and intertwine those with sustainability to really make the business case? So again, the other thing I have to say is there is a massive need for construction trades. And Chris, I'm so glad to hear that you are focused on that. There's a ton of opportunity, not only just to learn on site, but also management and entrepreneurship of trades. There's a very large shortage, and it is one of our biggest constraints. So if that is of interest, I'm happy to talk to anyone, connect anyone today or anytime in the future with the people I know. Like Chris said, it is also about relationships. And the beautiful thing is people that are in sustainability understand that, because we've been doing this together, and we're all climbing the same mountain. And I have found just a overwhelming interest and willingness to help other people get into the world that we're in, whatever space that may be in, whatever industry or whatever role and specialty. So just asking people, connecting, and understanding that if you keep on going, whatever you're passionate about, let it carry you, and try not to get discouraged. It is discouraging. It's work. Sometimes it can be discouraging, and it can be discouraging to find the right fit, but there is massive potential out there, and we need advocates. We need people who understand it and who are passionate. So
two things you need when trying to get into a climate career. You need patience and you need empathy. Not everyone is going to agree with the decisions you make for yourself for your career path. That is okay. When I am going into my day-to-day and I am speaking with labor unions who may not have a very firm grasp on what climate change looks like for them and how it's actually impacting their workers, or they disagree with a stance that I take, it's important for me to be able to understand why they're coming, how they reach that conclusion, what is in their best interest, and how you can bridge that gap. These careers are about people. So you have to be able to understand where folks are coming from, how you can meet them where they're at, and hopefully bring them closer to your side. You're not going to win everyone over. Not everyone is going to like you. that is okay. Your goal is to do the best that you can with the time and opportunity that you have. Also, please don't ever say no to an opportunity that presents itself to you, especially when you're in high school and college. Um, there are so many wacky ways that things that I have said yes to when I was like a sophomore in high school that have come back within the last year or two, that really helped me out. Um, so it is very crucial to make sure that as you're going through high school, as you're going through college, try to say yes to as many things as you can within reason. Like, don't flood your calendar with stuff and you burn out, but you are in the best possible position to do incredible things for yourself, for your community, for your state, for your country, however big you want to go. Um, but please make sure that you are patient with yourself, with others, and you have empathy for those that you're going to be working with as you progress through your career.
I think that is an excellent way to wrap up. This was an amazing panel. I honestly feel very, very privileged that we have you guys here to speak today to the youth and whoever watches this recording in the future about your career paths and what interests you in climate and sustainability and your advice for the future generations from very kind of different areas of society, but all very very valuable and key kind of players in this in changing systems and achieving that kind of systems level results.